Hello and welcome to another episode of SPL Express as we approach the final stretch of the 2023 season of the Singapore Premier League. Just 4 weeks to go as we look ahead to Matchweek 24. And here to break it down for us, we have former professional Rhysh Roshan Rai. But before we do that, let's take a look at the previous weekend's results and how it's affected the league standings. Goals galore over the weekend, 27 to be exact. And it started with that game that is potentially the title decider. Albirex Niigata getting the better of title contenders Tampines Rovers in a 9-goal thriller at the Jurong East Stadium. Geylang International picked up a very important win against Brunei DPMM, while Hougang ended up comfortable 6-2 winners against the Young Lions. The Lion City Sailors meanwhile picked up all 3 points against Balestier Khalsa, beating them 5-2. The win puts the Sailors in second now, 5 points behind leaders Albirex, who also do have that game in hand. Balestier and Geylang separated by just 3 points as that race to finish in the top 4 heats up, while the Young Lions' defeat means that they will finish the season in bottom place. Coming up this week, Albirex Niigata make the trip across the country to take on Geylang International at our Tampines hub tomorrow. It's a doublehead on Friday with Hougang hosting DPMM, while Tampines Rovers and LCS square off in our match of the week. Saturday sees the clash of the bottom 2 sides in the league between Tanjong Pagar and Young Lions. So let's start off with that match of the week. Tampines up against Lion City Sailors. What's essentially a battle for second place with both teams falling out of their title race. Roshan, what kind of season has it been for these both teams? Because we really thought they're going to push Albirex all the way.
Yeah, we did. We thought it would be a nice, tight 3-horse race towards the end of the season. But I think they've tried their best. I think especially for Tampines Rovers, I think it's a credit to them for where they are now. A very different model as a club to the Lion City Sailors, different finances, of course, and they have to structure it differently. And the season that they've had, I think, has been very good. If they can finish in second, I think it'd be a nice way to end things off for them, you know, being the best placed local side. For the Lion City Sailors, second place is like bare minimum what we expect from this club, who have put a lot of money into it, invested a lot of money into the team, brought in lots of good talented players, and whether it's local or in the foreign side of things. And you know, for them, they really need to push to try and finish in second spot. As I said, it's the bare minimum for a club of that size.
And the second spot is very important because it guarantees them a place in continental competition next season.
Yeah.
If the Sailors don't finish second, I mean, they've strengthened their squad to play in the AFC Champions League, the qualifier this year. What would it mean for them if they didn't finish second this time around?
It would be a blow, and I think they'd come in for quite a bit of criticism, and I think rightly so. The last time the only time they finished in third was when this project first started, when they were first founded in 2020. Finished third that season, and since then, you know, they've been doing pretty well in that sense. You know, 1 title, 1 second place finish, and now where they finish this season is going to be quite heavily dependent on this game against Tampines Rovers in some sense. It will be a huge disappointment, and there's a lot of sort of question marks about what's going to happen with the AFC competitions because of the restructuring and how they're going to sort of rebrand it and things like that. So we don't have too much information on that at the moment. But as you said, finishing in second will give you some sort of continental competition, and I think that is crucial for the Lion City Sailors. So they have to, and they've said this themselves as well, essentially the title is pretty much out of reach. It's second spot that they have to go for, and that's what makes this game brilliant to watch. It's going to be really fascinating because you've got 2 sides here where who are coming together. Both want to finish as the best placed local side. Tampines Rovers have already beaten Lion City Sailors. There's been 1 draw between the 2 of them, so it's always been really close this season between the 2 teams, and there's a lot of talent on display.
Let's talk about Tampines for a while. In their last 3 games, they've conceded 11 goals.
Yeah.
Is there a problem there for Gavin?
I think they've been a little bit unlucky with the injuries that they've had. They've picked up, and the suspensions that they've picked up over the last few weeks or so. We've had Shazwan out through a red card. He's been suspended. Then you've also had Irfan missing in that last game. That affects the balance. Zlatkovic missing has been a big one for me because, you know, he formed such a solid partnership with Yamashita in central defense for them, and that really gave them that stability in that back line. And with him out of the side, you know, Gavin has had to rework the team, restructure the team in that sense, and he's pulled Shah from midfield back into central defense. Whereas Shah, when he was playing in central midfield with Nakamura, the 2 of them were controlling games for Tampines Rovers in those positions. So you take him out of that now, and the complexion changes, the balance of the side overall changes. So to me, Zlatkovic has been a huge miss for them in central defence because of not just him as an individual, but how it affects the overall shape of the team, the balance of the team, and the structure of this Tampines Rovers side. So I think they've given it a really good push this campaign. I think they've just fallen a little bit short. This is the first time I think that we've seen Tampines in a while really push a lot of teams this season and play with a lot of maturity, and I think it's a lot of credit has to go to Gavin and his players for putting up those displays for the majority of the season, and that they're there within touching distance, within reach of finishing in second. If they do finish in second, I think it'll be a big achievement for them this campaign.
Let's just shift our attention to the Sailors. We've had a chance to see their two new signings, Ricardo Zivkovic and Bailey Wright as well. What have you made of how they've implemented or how they've integrated into this team?
I think Bailey Wright, it's been a little bit rough for him. Obviously, getting a red card on his debut against DPMM, and then coming back recently, scoring those 2 goals against Palliser Khalsa. They still, Lion City Sailors still look a little bit shaky. Zivkovic has still pretty decent. He looks like a good player, but of course, with players with that sort of pedigree, you always want to demand a lot more. Whether those disruptions in mid-season have helped the club along, I thought at least that it would give them a bit of a push, but it appears that it's actually disrupted things a little bit with the coaching change, and with Rankovic coming in, not really having the best of starts to it, and that's seen them fall away from the title race. So I think in the longer term they'll start to bed in, and it will start to look a little bit better for the Lion City Sailors for their sake anyway. But right now it's sort of a situation where they're still trying to, I think, come to grips with the league, with the players, and the quality around them as well, and how the Lion City Sailors now just defensively look so open. So there's work for them to do.
Well, you mentioned that this game is so important for both sides. It's delicately poised. How do you see it panning out?
Wow, this is such a tough question to answer. I'm going to lean towards... Again, it really depends on whether Zlatkovic is fit enough to play and whether Kopitovic is fit enough to play, because if those two are in the side, then I think they make a difference, even though Kopitovic doesn't exactly have a great goal scoring against the Lion City Sailors, but it helps having players of that quality. As I said, if Zlatkovic is fit enough to play, then Shah can be pushed back into midfield, and then you start to see an improvement, I think, in Tampines' game overall. So those are two big sort of question marks about what sort of side they're going to be able to put out. I feel like I want to lean towards Tampines winning this game, because then it just makes the league a lot more interesting in that sense. And the Lion City Sailors haven't looked good defensively, but they just, if Tampines don't have the full strength in terms of the squad available to them, then they could struggle against this Lion City Sailors side.
Well, let's talk about the league leaders and who they are facing. They're playing Geylang International. The season is not over yet.
Yeah,
Albirex could still lose it.
Yeah,
but do you think that they're going to make a blunder of this right now at this stage?
I don't think... I mean, mathematically, the title is still available, still up for grabs, but realistically speaking, and I said this a while ago, I even said Tampines a while ago, even though they won that 10-match unbeaten run, I said I think they've had too many draws this season to really push. So I don't think Albirex Niigata are going to fall away. It would take something really spectacular for them to fall away at this stage and not end up winning the title, and they'll be hungry. They are coming up against Geylang in their next game, a side that they have beaten comfortably twice already this season, and it's a Geylang side who are going to be struggling a little bit in terms of missing some key personnel. So I'm favouring Albirex Niigata to go and pick up the win here. What's
one thing about Albirex that impressed you the most, especially after the win against Tampines as well last week?
Yeah, look, I think overall the consistency that they've shown this season, yes, the quality of the Japanese system and the ability to produce players is very impressive. So you can have, if you've got good scouting, good contacts there, you can bring these players in and they're able to already make an impact here. And Yoshinaga, outstanding, right? Every season he's got to sort of put them together and get them playing the way he wants to play. The fitness levels are amazing. The intensity that they play at is very, very impressive, and it's something a lot of the local players can learn from. The way they train as proper professionals. They train properly, they take care of themselves, and when you watch them in their games, the transitions, both sides, defensively and attackingly, and on the attacking side of the game, I think I might have invented a new word there, attackingly, but it's really impressive because they get up box to box and they always have numbers. They're always attacking crosses in the area, and then they're protecting their own goal, and that's something that I think the local teams have really got to try and step up. And we say this almost every season. You wonder when the penny's going to drop, when it's going to start to change, but I guess that's a discussion for another time. But that's been incredibly impressive, the tactical discipline, the quality that they have out on display, and Yoshinaga's ability as well, I think, to change his squad keep players fresh. He's made a lot of changes to his starting 11, and that's been one of the key differences as well between Albirex Niigata having that freshness in the run-in as opposed to Tampines, who've had to rely on the same players week in, week out, and the Lion City Sailors to a certain extent.
Albirex, they play Geylang International. Geylang now in the race for top 4. They could clinch the top 4 finish. They're going to this game without Amirul Adli, who's suspended after being sent off.
Big miss.
How big a miss is he going to be?
Big miss. Sorry, I'm preempting your question there, but I think we knew where we were heading with this. Big miss Amirul Adli is going to be, because I think he's had a good season alongside Sakuma in central defence for Geylang. Obviously, no Bezakor, and that's also been huge for Geylang International.
They've kind of survived.
They've kind of survived the last 2 games with those wins, unbeaten in 3 coming into this one, but they're still not really, I think, in sort of full flow in that sense. Obviously, with Bezakor out, that's going to make a big difference in your attack. Yamaya has been playing his part. So have some of the other local players in and around him. I mentioned the likes of Naufal previously as well, and Iqbal. So that side of things is a bit of a concern. Amirul Adli missing in central defence is going to be an issue for them, because again, you're talking about maybe dropping Pereira in there, and that takes away Joshua Pereira from that central midfield role, and you're filling someone else in that situation. So it's going to be a big challenge for Geylang. They haven't beaten Albirex Niigata in like 12 games. You've got to go back to July of 2019 for the last win against them. So they don't have a particularly good record against the White Swans.
Well, Geylang, if you look at the run into the final stretch of the season, do you think they can clinch a top 4 finish?
I think they can. They've got this tough game coming up, and then they've got another one in the run of fixtures. I think it's the Lion City Sailors that they'll be coming up against soon. But they've got that head-to-head game against Balestier Khalsa, and that is going to be a huge game for both those sides. Balestier perhaps have a bit more of a tougher run-in that sense. So Geylang are going to be well capable of trying to finish in that top 4 spot.
Okay, the last game, Hougang versus DPMM. Hougang, they've hit some form recently, and one of the key reasons for that has been the form of Christian Krajcek.
Yeah.
We've talked about his importance this season, as last season as well, but he's got his best season in terms of goal returns, 8 goals this season.
Yeah.
What have you made of his performances and just how much does Hougang rely on him?
Oh, they rely on him a lot. I was full of praise for him when I was doing commentary on the game recently, and he's been so good for them. He scored 2 great goals against Balestier Khalsa, and then that performance against the Young Lions recently was very strong. He's got 5 goals in his last 3 SPL matches on a great run of form is Krajcek, and it seems like he's forming a good partnership now with Maksimovic, who's also recently gotten on the goal trail. So these are things that will help Hougang. But Krajcek is a brilliant player. He's just blossomed, I think, in this league. Initially, when he first came in with Balestier, I think it took him a bit of time. He didn't look too impressive, but he's really grown year on year, and he's such a key player for not just Hougang, but I think for the league as well, because he adds a lot. So much energy, so much quality. He can play in various different positions, and he really drags Hougang along. And almost everything good about Hougang in an attacking sense, or even in a defensive sense, kind of goes through Christian Krajcek, because he really is the heart and soul of that side.
Let's talk about Hougang, because for the last 2 seasons they have been disappointing with the depth and squad they've had in terms of talent. Do you think going forward this season, or next season rather, they should actually build a team around Krajcek, because he's proven to be instrumental, especially with the last part of last season as well in the Singapore Cup for them? I
think that's what they tried to do. I think they got their signings a little bit wrong with Ferreira coming in. That was a big mistake. But with Maksimovic in there as well now, it's something for them to sort of build on going forward. And Krajcek is a player that I think is perfectly suited to Hougang United and that style of play. I don't see any of the top 3 clubs sort of really going for him, because he's not what they necessarily need. It's not because he's not a good player. So I think he's actually perfect for Hougang, and he's the kind of guy, if you've got good players around him as well, you have that structure in and around him. We've seen some evidence of that since Marco has come in. He can help you push along and push a little bit more next season.
So another exciting round of football coming ahead this weekend, including what looks like a battle for second in the league. Tampines Rovers entertaining Lion City Sailors at our Tampines Hub. That's on Friday, and that is our feature game. Coverage begins from 7:15 p.m. So with that, we've come to the end of another episode. Don't forget, all the games are live on our SPL YouTube page, so do subscribe and follow us on all our social media channels. We'll see you again next week on SPL Express.